We've already mentioned that the Lieutenant Governor presides over the Senate. So how would you go about reaching across the aisle when it comes to calming down the divisiveness with regard to partisan politics?
Absolutely. That's a great question, and I love this question because I actually used to be very conservative. I haven't always been on this side of the aisle, and so I very much understand how everyone in the situation is thinking, and I feel like I've got a good ability to communicate to both sides of the issue. One of the styles of campaigning that I've used has just been very conversational, bringing people in, not being divisive, not being judgmental, and letting everybody say their piece so that we can start making some progress together. I'm very comfortable working in spaces with people on both sides. I have Republican friends who are campaigning for me. So I am very comfortable in that space and think that we can make a lot of progress together. One of the things I don't think people really wrap their heads around when we're looking at politics is even some of our most divisive issues, we can make a lot of progress together policy-wise that helps everyone without necessarily agreeing on the original issue completely. There's still room for growth.
Ms. Rutledge.
Over the last 8 years, I've had the opportunity to work with our legislature on very difficult issues. And so I hope to bring, as the Lieutenant Governor, the body of the Senate, that same sort of civility to where we are able to work through issues, conduct the business for the people of Arkansas on the Senate floor, and to make sure that all sides are heard, but to ensure, again, that civility. Americans and Arkansans are tired of the divisiveness that they see in politics. We need to be able to get things done. And sometimes that means that we have to find the 80% of things that we agree on and leave that 20% aside. Let's find ways to grow more jobs in our communities across the state, to roll back regulations off the backs of small businesses, to help our law enforcement officers receive more training so we can have safe neighborhoods for our kids, to ensure every child has the opportunity to have an education that they need and deserve, and one that their parents encourage them. We want to make sure we have parental choice in education. We want to have more kids going into the workforce out of high school. These are the sort of things that we can talk about and bring together in the state Senate for the state of Arkansas.
Mr. Gilbert.
What a great question. And it is obvious that politics in Arkansas is more divisive than in any time in my life. I used to talk about Team Red and Team Blue, but I'm afraid we've become Tribe Red and Tribe Blue. We are involved in tribal politics to the point that we often are unable to disagree civilly. We tend to objectify and demonize those that we disagree with, and that has created a culture in Arkansas politics that has driven away the voters in hordes. Arkansas has the least participation in electoral politics in the nation. 1/4, thereabouts, of the folks even bother to vote in the primaries. Less than half usually in the general elections, and a lot of those who vote in the generals are voting out of habit. I hope as a libertarian I'll be able to change that conversation realistically.
Thank you. Ms. Kraut.
Yes, as Frank mentioned, he's dealt with some rowdy characters before. I'm a mom of 7 sons, and so I actually wrote sort of a silly song during the campaign because I like to campaign kind of uniquely. And one of the lines went, "I've got 7 sons, I can handle a rowdy Senate, even if it's mostly Republican Senate." And I realize I'm running as one of in the minority party here in Arkansas. That doesn't intimidate me, and like I mentioned before, I think there's a lot of space to be able to work together, and I'm ready to do that kind of work.
Ms. Rutledge.
Well, as the Attorney General for the last 8 years, I don't know that we're going to be able to get the Senate to sing Kumbaya together, but I do believe that there's an opportunity to sit down and have civil discourse to ensure that as the Lieutenant Governor presiding over the Senate, that it'll be my job to call balls and strikes, to make sure that those who are advocating their positions are heard and allowed to do so in a respectful manner. I've worked very closely with these senators, and I look forward to working with them over the next 4 years as their Lieutenant Governor.
30 seconds for Mr. Gilbert.
The truth of the matter is that the job of Lieutenant Governor has very little to do even with the Senate these days. The Senate does not want a member of the executive body looking over its shoulder, and I think they have an argument to be made there. The truth of the matter is, if we did it right, and if we could, we probably ought to eliminate this office. In the meantime, let someone who has a different perspective come in, oversee the Senate to the degree that it needs it, and otherwise stay out of the politics.